Just in case I don't make it home tonight. Remember that? What was it, Jaheim? It's an old school song, guys. Just in case. So I'm just gonna get started. And those who wanna jump on can jump on. I wanted to talk about what it feels like to have a lot of noise. Your teen quarantine. Okay. You did a bit of a road trip? Yeah, so did I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It's good to just get out. Even in the midst of this quarantine, we have to find some sort of sense of normalcy. Just be safe and obviously use your judgment. But I wanted to talk about the noise, and I think this pandemic really forced us to go silent for a little bit, right? But even within that silence, there's still a lot of noise, whether it's news from the media, the Black Lives Matter movement. There's just a lot happening. And sometimes a lot of that just gets really overwhelming. And so a quote that I found that I want to share with you guys is, people don't want to listen to their thoughts, so they fill the world with noise. And that's a huge practice that I see here in the States. It's really easy to fill your lives up with distractions, and from there it kind of avoids you from having to deal with whatever the things that are going on. So I really encourage you to find ways in which you can be least distracted. So I'm just going to go right to it. You know, I always say life can sometimes sound like a 3-year-old banging on pots, metal pots. There's no rhythm to the sound, just uncomfortable, excruciatingly loud and chaotic sounds. So that kind of sound that's like super loud, it makes you cringe, it makes you want to escape, and it's kind of hard to think with without a clear mind when there's a ton of noise around you. And the thing about noise is it drowns everything out, right? And it's challenging to know which thought is yours and which thought is worming its way into your subconscious. And what happens, like, your thoughts start to bleed into each other, and it creates mass confusion. And so you have to step away from the noise, because stepping away means separating yourself from the noise, and it can be very difficult for people, right? And I'm not saying not for like an hour or a day, sometimes for many days, right? Sometimes maybe even months, maybe years, depending on what's going on for you. So what happens when you don't separate from the noise? You know, I've seen, and even just for myself, some people have mental or emotional breakdowns, or they find themselves in situations that they never wanted to be in, such as maybe staying in relationships that are way past the expiration date because you can't hear your intuition, or even jobs that you probably should have moved on from years ago. So the blinders, they're on when there's too much noise. So when I moved to Southeast Asia, I lived in complete silence for like 3 years. And it was a different kind of silence, right? Because the kind of silence here, because we always think like we're able to be with ourselves and be still and quiet. But when you're living in another country and you don't speak the language, you turn inwards because it's hard for you to communicate with other people, so you have no choice but to get quiet. And so it was a different kind of silence for me. And so for me, for the first time, I finally could really hear my thoughts. And I heard them in a way that allowed me to heal and become clear about the things I wanted in my life. Not that you need like to move overseas and you need 3 years to figure that stuff out, but removing yourself from the noise will bring you a peace of mind and more control over your circumstances, a little bit more control over your feelings, and again, you can think clearly. And so it's important for you to pause and reflect. Sit in silence more frequently. And I don't want to label it meditation because when people hear the word meditation, it might give them a little bit of anxiety or nervousness, because there's this idea that you have to do meditation properly. But our bodies and our minds need to be able to pause so that it can slow down our nervous system. And so what I found out is that the body will force you to sit still if you don't decide to be still. You know, just like with this pandemic, it really forced a lot of us to get still. And during that stillness, a lot of stuff came up for many of us. And then when it came up, it was really difficult for a lot of us to deal with, or it became an opening to something else, something bigger. And, you know, some people may have like transcended. And so what are the things that you can do right now? I recommend dedicating just 5 minutes. If you can't do 5 minutes, then do 1 minute. Just 1 minute of silence every day. Silence from talking, checking your phone, silence in a very quiet, safe place, and a chosen silence, right? Not the kind of silence that we're forced into right now because of the pandemic, but silence, and making it a habit. And when we make it a habit for us to get quiet, we are able to hear ourselves. Sometimes I hear often that people say, like my clients will say, I can't really trust my intuition or hear my intuition. And I get that because I've experienced that myself. And so when that happens, I know that it's time for me to get more quiet. And so the world will distract you if you allow it. It's created to distract you, right? With so many, even just going to the grocery store, there are so many options. And so when you make this a habit, again, you teach your mind to settle, and you teach your body to just get still. And so it's up to you to escape those distractions. So you can focus on the activities and the people that nourish your soul. So when the world gets too noisy, hey Jerome, I didn't see that. When the world gets too noisy, the challenge here is to step away for a moment on a regular basis. And so I encourage you to do that. And don't label it anything. And of course, and I also believe it's just time for yourself. That silence is a moment for you. And I want you to be able to do that so you can enjoy it more on a regular basis. And get still, guys. So get still. I know the stillness has helped me a lot, because when you're abroad, there's a lot less things that you can fill your life. I mean, you can, but it's just a different kind of experience. But when you're here, and whether it's phone calls, especially I've had experienced Zoom fatigue not too long ago, and it became too much and I got overwhelmed. So it's very important to listen to your body, to listen to that intuition, and to really be honest about where you're at this moment. So when the world gets noisy, get quiet. All right, take care, guys. Thanks for watching.